Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be, don't be average, be amazingly different. Well, I've got two quick emails that I'm going to go through with you today. And what we're going to talk about is career, purpose, mission in life, and how important this is. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. Everybody's got to have a purpose. Everybody's got to have something that gets them up early in the morning. And if you're a woman, maybe it's just being a great mom to your kids. You have to have something that makes you feel like you come alive inside. The kind of thing that, like, when you wake up every day, you feel like this is what I was put on this earth to do. It's the kind of thing that you love doing, and it brings you great satisfaction. Whether you get compensated for it or not really doesn't matter. And if you're looking for a career or a purpose or a mission, something to pursue in life, you got to make sure it's something that you're really passionate about and something you really love. Because when you really love something and you really have a passion for it, you'll work at it. You'll tinker with it. You'll study. You'll watch things. You'll observe. You'll learn. You'll read. You go to talk to other people that are successful at doing what you'd like to do and pick their brains and figure out how they did it, figure out the path that they took, because you ultimately want to be like them. When you look at little kids, when they get their mind set on a toy or something that they really want in life, what do? They go and they cut a picture out of the magazine, or they download something on the internet and they print a picture of it out on the internet and they tape it on their wall, and they just badger the shit out of their parents until they either get it for the holidays or Christmas or Hanukkah or their birthday or Groundhog Day or whatever, or they cut the lawn, or they clean up around the house, or they paint things, or they do chores to earn some extra money, or they save their allowance so they can ultimately one day get this thing that they really want. And no matter what you say to them, you can't discourage or dissuade them from what it is that they really want, because they're always looking at that picture every day. But what happens when we become adults? At some point, most people give up on that, and they no longer look at their goals and their dreams and the things that they really want with that wonder and that glitter in their eyes like children do. Children don't know any better because they're not old enough, they don't have enough life experience, and they haven't experienced enough disappointment, and the world just hasn't beat out of them their enthusiasm and their desire to get what it is they want. It's like kids already innately know what they want, and they just go after it without ever thinking, oh, I can't do it, it'll never work out for me. It's not until we get older and the people, our parents, our peer group, people around us convince us that our dreams and the things that we really want are just simply not in the cards. And misery tends to love company. People who, I read this recently, it's been said that the quality of your life is basically the average of the 6 people who you spend most of your time with. And I've also said this many times, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the expectations of your peer group. If the people that you have surrounded yourself with, the people that you spend most of your time with, don't have major goals, don't have major dreams, aren't trying to better themselves in every way, shape, or form in every part of their life, they're not trying to grow and they're not trying to expand, it doesn't mean you need to be a fucking maniac about it. But as a human being, you always want to grow. You always want to become more. It's like, what happens when your favorite team wins a championship? Well, if they've never had a championship before, that's what they're striving for. And every single person that's ever won a championship and got that ring, after a while, they'll say the same thing. I'd really like to get another one of those. Or if you've ever closed a really big deal and you made a bunch of money on it, and at one point in your life you're thinking, man, if I could just close a deal like this, or if I could get that kind of job that I really wanted, or convince that person to hire me, oh, that'd be the ultimate. And you get that job, or you achieve that goal, and what happens? Oh man, there's an even bigger, better deal out there that I want to accomplish. I want to become a manager. I want to become CEO of that company. I want to become CEO of my own company. There's always more to become. Because at some point in your life, if you just give up hope, like when you lose hope, I mean, literally, it's a quick path to an early grave. And you can see that. I mean, I saw that like a lot of my friends that I went to high school with. It's like amazing. It's like people hit their 30s, and a lot of them get married. They start working a career job, something they went to school for. And after a while, that they don't have that same internal enthusiasm. What do? They stick with it. They keep working at it. Oh, maybe hopefully it'll get better. Oh, this is what I do. This is when I went to school. This is what I've always done. I remember my office building that I used to own with my former business partners. We sold that for about 10,000 square foot office building in Winter Park. And we sold it for $2.5 million. This is back about 7 years ago when we finally sold that thing. And the guys that bought it, they had a law firm. This law firm had been around since the early 1900s. And I remember going in that old office when we were signing the contract on it. And there was a developer that had purchased their property. And this was like an old building. It was like 7,000 square feet. There were a lot of people working out of it. But one of the patriarchs, one of the original founders of the law firm, and I sat in this guy's office. He had since passed away, but they had a painting of him on the wall and stuff. And the firm still had his name. But this guy practiced law in that same little fucking 8x10 office for 52 years. Can you imagine going to this same little room for 52 years of your life and doing the same thing? I just can't imagine that. Like, I know for me, like when I go to, like through my life, when I was working for other people, when I get to that point where that internal enthusiasm is gone, and I start getting kind of antsy, I get kind of bored with what I'm doing. And most of the people I'm working with, they're just plugging along, and they're feeling the same way. They're not really that into it, but they're just doing enough to not get fired, doing an adequate job, if you will. That drove me nuts. I knew that I had to move on. Because to me, internally, that felt like dying, to stay in a job that I just didn't have the same internal enthusiasm for. I wanted something new, something exciting to move on to. And then I move on to the next job, and I might be there for a few years. Then I get bored with that, and I go do something else. Eventually, I started my own company. Even when I had my own company, I was always looking for ways to expand and add new divisions. And I've always been into personal growth and self-help, and always tried to become more than I was before. It's funny, a lot of people that knew me from years ago, back in my former career in real estate, were like, dude, you've changed. And it's not that I changed. I simply stopped suppressing those parts of my personality that I never felt comfortable letting out. And a lot of people, when you become connected to parts of yourself that you were once disconnected from, different parts of your personality, anybody around you who's still in that same mode of disconnect, they're not going to like it. They're going to attack you. They're going to say harsh things to you to try to put you back in the box, so to speak, and keep you small, if you will. You can't let those kinds of people, you can't let society keep you down, because like once you get stuck in place and you stop moving forward, and you stop expanding, and you stop growing, and you stop trying to be new things and accomplish new things and dream bigger dreams, and then go set about the task of accomplishing those bigger dreams, you lose hope. And you can see it in the eyes. You can go outside right now. You can go to a mall or any public place where there's lots of people walking around and look them in the eyes. Look, and you see the sadness in their eyes. You see the defeat in their eyes. You see, it's just like you can see this sometimes in sports. I was watching the game with the Heat playing the Nets in the finals a couple nights ago, and I think it was game 2. And I remember towards the end of the game, the Heat was up by like 15 points. It was obvious they were going to win. And you could see it in the eyes of everybody that was on the Nets. They knew it was over. And it's just the defeat was in their eyes. They were just broken. They were defeated. They knew there wasn't enough time, and they're just, even though there was still 7-8 minutes in the game, like the whole game, the Heat had been up the whole game, and they just fucking dominated. And you could see that, but it's so sad to see that in people's just everyday lives. They're walking around, they're just fucking beat down by life. So I got a quote that I wrote, and I want to share with you, and we're going to go through a couple of emails here. And the quote says, "You are a divine being with unlimited creative potential. However, all great things take time. Perfecting yourself and your life is not an overnight process. In order to feel fully alive and reach your full potential, you must have an emotionally compelling vision and purpose for your life. Something that makes you come alive inside, and that you have a burning desire to become or accomplish. Average and mediocre people major in minor things. They never reach their full potential because they allow their fears to paralyze them into believing they are powerless to change their circumstances. Since they do not believe they can achieve what they want, they don't develop any plans and never take any action towards what they really want. To them, Life is about surviving instead of making a life journey of their own design. When you are only trying to survive instead of thrive, eventually you will lose hope in the promise of a great life and the beauty of your dreams. Once you lose hope, it's a straight shot to an early grave. That's a fucking sobering thought when you see that. You know what's interesting is most people when they retire, they're dead within 2 or 3 years of retiring. Isn't that interesting? You wonder, why is that? People wait their whole lives. I can't wait till I sit down and I retire and I can sit on my porch and sit in the swing in my rocking chair and do nothing. Or I can go out and I can fish all day, every day. Or I can work in my yard. I can work in my gardens. I can travel and I can see the world. And 2 to 3 years they're dead. Deader than a fucking doornail. Taking a long fucking dirt nap. It's like every friend that I know that has sold their companies sometimes for hundreds of millions of dollars, they sit around for 2-3 years and they're fucking bored out of their mind. They're like, this is great living in this mansion and being able to travel around the world and drive these nice cars and all these things, but I gotta do something. I gotta go to the office. I gotta have something to create. I gotta have something to work at. Everybody, men and women, we gotta have a purpose. We gotta have something that we're doing in life. I mean, we have to spend our lives doing something, moment by moment. Why spend your life slaving away at a fucking job that you hate, or a business that you're not really excited about, or working with business partners that you fucking can't stand and you're not excited about the product or the service that you're providing? How is that really living? That's just fucking surviving and earning a paycheck. When you're just trying to survive, you're never going to put the level of effort in that's necessary in order to become really great at it. And anybody that's achieved any really huge success, when you look at the recent successes we've had in the past few years, like take Facebook, for example. Mark Zuckerberg had that childlike wonder when he was sitting in his college dorm room and he thought up the idea of, like, this would be something really fucking cool just to have. And he got excited. He had internal enthusiasm. He wasn't thinking, I'm going to build this great billion-dollar business. Building a business was the last thing. He just wanted to build a really cool website that had this cool social network that everybody could connect with. And he built it, and people really liked it. And other people were like, hey, can we get that at our school? He was like, well, I don't see why not. Let's add a few more servers, and let's start doing that. So he got investors, and they started expanding, and then it grew into what it is today. He has one simple focus that he and all the thousands of employees that work for him are focused on, and that's connecting the world, to make the world more open and connected. That is the whole purpose of what they have set out to do. And they're doing a pretty good fucking job of accomplishing that. So this first email I got is really just like one sentence. This guy says, hey Corey, how do I get my life back? How do I break the autopilot pattern of life? Well, the first step in that is to figure out, what the fuck do you want? What do you really want? And I'm not talking like, oh, I want to make $1 million. I just want to pay my bills. I'm talking about the kind of thing that you feel like you were put on this earth to do. The kind of thing that gives you fucking goosebumps when you think about it. The kind of thing that makes the hair stand up in the back of your neck. The kind of thing that when you deep down think about it, if you could just spend all of your time doing it, if money was no object, you didn't have to work for a living, what would you spend your life doing if you really could focus on something that you really loved and you really had a fucking passion for? And what's interesting is when I do phone sessions, about half the phone sessions I do with people are helping them figure out what their purpose is in life and what their mission is in life and what really drives them. And most people, it is so hard to give me a straight answer when I start asking questions. The average person, it usually takes about a half hour of the phone session just to get to the point where I can get them to be totally honest. Because what happens is they have so many fears and they have so many internal mental obstacles that they put up and put in the way that says, there's no way I could ever do this or ever consider that. And so deep down, we all know what we really want. Just like when we were kids, we all knew what was exciting to us, what we wanted to move towards. But at some point, we gave up and it became so emotionally painful to move towards what we really want. It's like we took that desire and that passion that we had and we stuffed it all the way down inside to the point where we didn't think about it anymore. Because when we thought about what we were really passionate about, the fact that we believed and started to accept that, hey, there's just no way that this is in the cards for me, I could never do this, The thought of the fact that you're never going to be able to do what you've always wanted to do, you're never going to be able to become what you really wanted to become and work at what you really want to work at, that's fucking painful. And so what you do is you stuff that down way into the corner there of your mind and you put it away and you don't even want to touch it anymore. I don't want to go there. That's too painful to think about that. It becomes depressing to them. And so it's like I have to like dig to figure all those things out and get past all those limiting beliefs and all those fears and get down to the core issue of what's really driving them to do what they do. And what's interesting is whatever they're doing right now in some way, shape, or form, they're meeting those needs, their real driving force needs, but they don't really understand what's driving them. And once you help them discover that and you get them to write, because I always have them do is pull out a piece of paper and a pen and I start asking them questions. I pull those things out of them. And once we get to whatever it is on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 10, and it's like when I ask them, and the way I'm able to tell when I get at the core issue of what somebody really deep down is passionate about, is that when I say on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate that? Oh, it's 10. It just flows out. When they go, it's an 8, it's a 9, or go, I don't know, they're not there, and so I keep digging. But it's amazing. It's like once you figure that out and you write those, the average person, it's like 4 to 9 different driving force needs that they come up with. And I've done a bunch of videos on discovering your purpose. So if you want to go and look through some of those and you want some help doing that, if you just Google Corey Wayne discovering your purpose, like I said, I've done probably 3, 4, 5, 6 videos now. But if you've got a bunch of fears around that and obstacles, then I would definitely suggest booking a paid phone or Skype session with me, because I can dig through all that bullshit. I can dig through all your bullshit story, what you tell yourself. If whatever you're doing right now just doesn't fucking jazz you, when you wake up in the morning, if you're not like, oh my God, I got to do this is what I want to do with my life. If you don't feel like that, if you don't feel excited to get out of bed in the morning, book a phone session with me, because I promise you in just 1 simple hour, we'll get to the core issue of what's really driving you. And once you know what's driving you, whatever career, job, or business potentially, I mean, there's literally thousands of things that you can do, but you got to figure out what your driving force needs are and what your real purpose is. And I can do that in 1 phone session with you, because once we figure that out, then it's just a matter of them doing the research and finding something that's really compelling to them, which will enable them to meet those driving force needs. And once they have that, then I have them book another phone session with me, 1 more. And then in the second phone session, what we do is we actually put together an action plan of what they need to do Monday through Friday, day in and day out, what critical activities absolutely, without a doubt, must fucking get done before they go to bed. And then, because once they have that, and once they know what they want to do, and they have emotion compelling reasons why they want to do it, they'll take the time. They'll spend 20 minutes or a half hour or an hour a day taking those little action steps that they know they need to take, even if they've got to work a shitty job on the side while they're building their business on the side, or while maybe they've gone back to school to get a degree or whatever, or a certificate or a license, or maybe building their business out of their garage if they're an entrepreneur, or working that crappy job because it pays the bills, but be looking to get that job that you really want to get on the side. Because that's what's going to free you. That's that's what's really going to open up. If you're a man watching this and you're not absolutely in love with what it is that you do for a living, that's going to absolutely affect your ability to be happy and to love yourself and to love your life. And when you meet a woman and you're like, wow, this girl's really hot, and she's like, what do you do for a living? You're like, you don't even want to fucking tell her. She's going to tell that you're not really happy. You don't really feel fully alive. You're not completely expanded and open as a man who feels like he knows what he was put on this earth to do. Because all women want a guy who has a purpose and a mission outside of her. Something that just drives him, no matter whether or not she's in his life. There's something that gets him up early in the morning and it keeps him up late at night. That's sexy. That's attractive to women. Women love guys that have ambition. And the same token, it's really great to date a woman or be in a relationship with a woman who loves what she does, even if she's a stay-at-home mom, or maybe she's an entrepreneur, or maybe she's a nurse, maybe she's a doctor, maybe she's a teacher. As long as she's doing something that makes her feel alive, something that gives her great satisfaction, and where she can give her God-given gifts, skills, and talents, that's incredibly sexy. That's incredibly attractive. So let's get into the second email. And this guy says, Dear Coach Corey, I felt compelled to write you this morning to express my gratitude to you for your knowledge and wisdom in regard to personal and intimate relationships. After watching several of your videos and reading parts of your free ebook, I had some kind of revelation concerning how I must approach the relationship situation I'm currently dealing with. Through your teachings, I began to realize what I must do to end my own suffering. That's why on my website, if you notice at the top of every page, the header, it says Enlightened Self-Help. That's the same thing with my book. It's like I want people to read that and to be able to self-diagnose. Because me personally, whether it's through email coaching or Skype coaching, if you'd like to book Skype or email coaching, on my website, at the top of every single page of my website, there's a products tab. And when you click on that products tab, the next page that opens up, you can select Skype coaching or email coaching if you'd like to get my help personally. But my goal is to put my best wisdom, my best knowledge out there in my videos and the articles on my website, and even let people read my book for free, because I know there's people all over the world that spending $10 for a book on Amazon, you know, if you're making $50 or $100 a month and that's your income, you know, that's a lot of fucking money. I'd rather that guy get the help and change his life, and maybe 5-10 years from now, he comes and says, hey man, here's $10, here's $50, or he books a phone session or whatever. I want to help people. I love that. It makes me sad when I walk around and I look in people's eyes and I see that fucking defeat and they've just given up. Because there's just no way to live your life, to go through life and always be sad and downtrodden and looking at the ground and feeling depressed all the time. Because when people aren't happy, it literally gets locked in your physiology. That's one of the reasons why I'm such an advocate of network chiropractic care. Because that stuff loosens you up, it opens you up, it gets you back to that place of where you literally feel a state of gratitude in your body all the time. And when you feel grateful and happy, you feel optimistic and you feel certain you still have hope. And as long as you have hope and you know what your dreams are and you know what your driving force is, you can still take action. As long as you got breath in your lungs and you know what you want and why you want it, it's just a matter of taking the action and putting the time in. It's time and repetition. Anything that you suck at right now that you'd love to become better at or good at, it's just time and repetition. He says, you are directly responsible for providing me the illumination that revealed a clear path that is allowing me to release myself from heartache. Awesome, man. Good for you. He says, although the conclusion of my circumstances remain uncertain with the woman I am referring to, I have a renewed hope that I can carry on despite the factors that remain out of my control. That's good, because what you've done is the hardest part, which is accepting the reality of your situation. You're accepting the fact that whatever happened with that particular situation, it's happened, and it happened, and it couldn't happen any other way. Because when you don't accept the reality of your situation, or that a relationship ended, or you got fired from your job, or that business of yours failed, or whatever it happens to be, or you didn't get that tricycle that you wanted when you were 3 years old, you're going to suffer. When you don't accept reality as it is, when you don't accept that things are the way they are, you stay stuck in the past. And you're going to suffer tremendously. And when you're suffering, it makes it really hard to do anything. If you just got dumped by your girl and you want to turn things around and you're just thinking about what was and your whole identity because you're still going through the grieving period and you haven't really accepted the reality of what has happened, you're stuck in the past. And you're worried about what may or may not happen in the future, i.e., oh, will she call? It's been a couple of weeks since I heard from her. Is she going to call me? God, it would really suck if I never hear from her again. But what's happening is you're not living in the present moment. It's like your mind is somewhere else. It's either stuck on what happened in the past or it's stuck on what may or may not happen in the future. And the only moment that you have is right now. And where you end up in the future is directly related to what action you either take or fail to take. There's a line in an old song. It was a song called Tom Sawyer by the band called Rush. And the part of the song says, even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. In other words, even if you know what it is you want, but yet you don't do anything about it, you still have made a choice that's going to affect where you show up in the future. And if you're not taking the actions that you know you need to take right now in your life, guess what? You're going to show up someplace tomorrow or in the future that's not where you want to be. And then you're going to go, how the fuck did I get here? He says, of course I consider sending you an email that describes my situation and asking you questions that would help me proceed, but I felt it was more important to thank you for what you have already provided to me. That is the only purpose of this email, and of course to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking care of yourself. I appreciate you applying the wisdom and the things that I teach and making your own life better, because not only are you making your own life better, every single person that you come in contact with, you energetically and vibrationally are going to have a positive impact on them and their world. And it may be something as simple, and you never know how you're going to affect somebody's life. You could run into somebody in an elevator, and you're in a great fucking mood, and you say, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? And the guy says, my day's going all right. I'm like, how's your day going? I'm doing fucking awesome. Thanks for asking. And that person had just said, if somebody doesn't say hello to me today, I'm going to fucking kill myself. I've lost my faith in humanity, and people are unfriendly, and they don't like me, and if somebody doesn't say hello to me before the end of the day, I'm going to end it all. And you're just that guy in the elevator, or that girl in the elevator that says hello, hope you're having a great day, and you give them a smile. You never know how you're impacting a stranger. That's one of the beauties of life. He says, thank you for not only your relationship advice, which has made me stronger and a more game smart individual, but thank you for your profound effect on my ability to recapture the possibility of my own contentment. And being successful, being content, feeling peace, really is a direct result of doing something that you know how to do and doing it really well. And becoming really good at something comes from experience. Wisdom and success comes from experience. Experience comes from taking action and doing the things that you know you need to do in order to get to where you really want to be. So again, if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is either to book a phone session with me or a Skype session with me or email coaching. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.